commandments. How many times have you had an experience where you uncovered a truth? Something was revealed to you, and you said, I have been lied to all my life. Well, Jesus wants us to see how the two commandments that we just read open a passageway. They open a passageway to everything we've ever suspected and desired. In a moment, I'm going to humbly request that you let me borrow your imagination. I want to take you on a journey that corroborates your deepest intuitions, things you have always known, things you've known forever. Now, most of you will recall last week I borrowed from singer Andra Day, and you may have noticed that I altered the words from I'll rise up to we'll rise up. We'll rise like the day, rise up, rise unafraid. This was my feeble attempt to show what a grave miscalculation it is to surrender to a scarcity mentality, thinking that only some of us can rise up. We need the hearts and voices of us all. Through the course of your life, you will encounter folks who act as though their community can rise up in spite of what happens to others. They see their counterpart, whom society has attacked, stripped, beaten, abandoned, and left half dead, and they still don't express humanity. They cross over to the other side of the road. But all of us need all of us, every potential collaborator. If you follow Super Bowl commercials, then you saw He Gets Us. Millions of people were inspired by it. He Gets Us is a subsidiary of a foundation that has donated over $50 million to the anti-LGBTQ plus hate group Alliance Defending Freedom. Their commercials claim He Gets Us. But my Jesus is not about excluding some to inspire others. Black history recognizes that excluding some to inspire others is the American story. Black folks are pushed down, pushed back, and who trips whenever Black folks decide not to participate in their civil ceremonies that worship the God of the white nationalist project, pledging their pledges and singing their songs just because it inspires them? Who's tripping? Often it's Christians. We need ideas, music, and culture that inspire everyone. And we need to respect the music and culture that have helped diverse peoples to survive. Especially in the US now, where so many have mixed backgrounds. Diane and I have grandchildren who are Afro-Latine. And you don't need to look far to see families that are Afro-Indigenous, Afro-Asian, Afro-European, all kinds of ethnic and cultural combinations. I see God in this, offering us more chances to discover the fruit of multiple ancestries, which so defies the reality that was curated for us. Reality. Reality is just as beautiful as you always thought. Jesus, the Jesus who gets all of us, guides us to a bridge, the bridge that connects our most luminous dreams to crystal clear reality. And he does it with two simple commandments. One, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, with all your understanding. This commandment reminds us that there is a higher order where every one of us is worthy to participate in the distribution of extravagant divineness. To love God is to acknowledge that we all flow out of the sacred and that we are all interconnected. That's the first and greatest commandment. The second is love your neighbor as you love yourself. Some of you know that Cornel West wrote, "Justice is what love looks like in public. You logged on this morning because you are unashamed of public displays of affection. You love out loud. Your life shows how the second commandment plays out. For example, do you find yourself enraged over the mistreatment of your neighbor with the same anger as when you yourself are mistreated? Are you so done with patriarchy, regardless of your own gender? Do you voice how scandalized you are over ableism, even if you have no disability? That's the kind of PDA we need. We can read thousands of books. We can seek for the way, but to his gaslit, lied to by empire audience that was starved for crystal clear reality, Jesus affirms that reality was accessed by loving God and loving your neighbor as yourself. So it goes like this. First, love God. Second, love self. Third, love neighbor the way you love self. So, as I asked earlier, just for a brief moment, would you allow me to borrow your imagination? I'll give it back. Join me as I explore the wonderland that is reality. I'm dreaming of a beautiful world, one where each person is intoxicated with self-love. By love, I do not mean obsessed with themselves. It's a world where nobody thinks they are less than, where every child loves herself to her core. And what I'm about to say next might seem beyond belief, but it's true. People want you to love yourself. If you don't love yourself, some of your dearest friends will still support you, but you'll become their burden. Just because somebody cares about you and doesn't let go, that keeps supporting you, just because somebody cares about you doesn't mean that they find your self-disrespect enjoyable. Self-disrespect is not the flex you think. People want you to love yourself. They need you to. Life is heavy enough. The lovely 1970s hit, He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother, it's noble. But sometimes you can cause the best of friends to have a backache because you can get heavy. Maybe they're carrying other brothers and sisters too. Maybe they have to put you down because they just got tired. Maybe they needed you to love yourself. People need to feed off of your confidence. And there's another song I've enjoyed lately titled, Love God, Love People. But you already know that you can burn out loving God and people if you don't love yourself. You need to activate your personal divine energy through self-love because it helps everyone to rise up. The Hindu healer Shitala Shaparya reminds us that loving yourself is not selfish, it's self-care. She writes, self-love is recognizing your inner abilities and nurturing and acknowledging them. It is very commonly said that you cannot love someone else until you learn to love yourself. You is where your world begins, but it should not be where it ends because that's narcissism. There's a huge difference between loving yourself and being a narcissist. A narcissist's world is just about them. They don't just prioritize themselves, they neglect others and create their own world where they are superior to others. So, picture this beautiful world of self-love with me. You gotta love this because, folks, what this means is that in the beautiful world that I'm imagining, where each person loves themselves, there can be no authoritarian rulers, the likes of Syria's Bashar al-Assad, or Russia's Vladimir Putin, or South Korea's Kim Jong-un, or Hungary's Viktor Orban, or the Philippines' Rodrigo Duterte, or Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu, or Florida's Ron DeSantis. Because leaders would follow the love that they have for themselves forward to share with their constituents. The world I'm imagining is one where power serves all the people. So Join me as we celebrate the end of international conflicts, the end of homelessness, and the end of policing. As the Hebrew prophet Micah wrote, he will judge between many peoples and will settle disputes for strong nations far and wide. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not take up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore. Everyone will sit under their own vine and under their own fig tree, and no one will make them afraid. Our country has watched Black and Indigenous people suffer, lying by the wayside for centuries, and they have crossed over to the other side of the street. We need our country to fulfill the second commandment. So envision with me this world without white supremacy and settler colonialism, a world where everyone has equal opportunities and rights regardless of race or ethnicity. In this world, the legacy of colonization and slavery would be acknowledged and addressed, and steps would be taken to make amends for the injustices of the past. This could involve a range of initiatives, such as reparations for descendants of enslaved people, the restoration of land and resources to indigenous communities, and the decolonization of education and cultural institutions. The power dynamics that have been established through centuries of oppression would shift, giving marginalized communities a greater voice and agency in shaping the world around them. This could lead to a more equitable distribution of wealth and resources and an increased focus on addressing systemic issues like poverty, inequality, discrimination. And yes, there are likely many challenges and obstacles along the way, but if we work towards creating a more just and equitable world, I see a future where everyone can thrive and flourish, where we all rise up. Reparations might take the form of financial payments as well as efforts to address the lasting impact of slavery, such as providing access to education, healthcare, and economic opportunities. In the context of colonialism and genocide, the reparations movement calls for the recognition of harm inflicted upon indigenous peoples and for steps to be taken to address the ongoing legacy of dispossession. This can involve the return of lands and resources, compensation for the theft of resources, and investment in indigenous communities to address the lasting impacts of colonization. You may have heard of the Land Back movement. It refers to the efforts of indigenous peoples to reclaim and restore control over their ancestral lands. It's rooted in the recognition of the ongoing impacts of settler colonialism. The United States is not the only country where indigenous peoples have been forcibly removed from their lands and had their territories taken over by colonial powers or settlers. The Land Back movement, the global Land Back movement, involves a range of strategies such as legal action, direct action, and community organizing. The goal is to ensure that indigenous peoples have control over their lands, over their resources, over their cultural heritage, and are able to maintain their traditional ways of life and their relationship to the land. The reparations movement and the Land Back movement are important pieces to the world where we all rise up and we love out loud. And all of this will cause us to question the fading appeal of the viability of countries and the nation state. Here in my dream, there are no Christian nations, no Islamic states, or any country where there's an official religion. Now, before I return your imagination, here are 3 reasons I'm confident that you won't easily dismiss this dream. Number 1, and you know this, today is not yesterday. This moment is not just an accumulation of all previous moments. Today is not yesterday, and that is significant. The second reason I'm confident that you won't dismiss the dream is that real humans are everywhere. there are more of us. We are interconnected. I'm inspired by the fact that there are people who see things that I don't see, and what they see drives them. Just because you got tired does not mean that everybody else got tired at the same time. Folks are driven by fiery passion. They're driven by conscience, by their moral compass. And when somebody is driven by that, and not by, they're not restrained by the rules embedded in their minds, in our minds, but they're driven by conscience, anything can happen, because they will give everything in order to see their goals achieved, if it means their life. Humans are everywhere, and some of us are brave enough to love in public, brave enough to love out loud. That's the second thing. Now, the third and final reason that I think you'll take this seriously, that you'll consider this dream, is that the rules cannot keep the game from changing. When I was in junior high school, the media nicknamed it the Lou Alcindor rule. Lou Alcindor was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's name when he played for UCLA. The Lou Alcindor rule prohibited players from dunking. Well, in the rules, it didn't say dunking because the term was too urban. They said that you could not make shots above and directly over the cylinder. They changed the rules to keep the game from changing. What happened next? The game changed anyway. They had to change the rule because the players changed the game. Now I'm talking to you, player. Not only will the rules change, but the game will change. So here are the three reasons I think you'll hold on to this. One, today is not yesterday. Humans are everywhere, and the rules cannot keep the game from changing. So I ask you to let me borrow your imagination, and I'm going to hand it back to you. But first, just in case it feels like I am unrealistic, like I'm just too far out there, let me just say, you may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. And I hope someday you'll join us and the world will live as one. Let's pray. My prayer for you this morning is that you will continue to be liberated to love yourself, that you will give yourself a break, because your central nervous system regularly needs relief. We turn to our Creator. There's only one mind in the universe. And I pray for each person here to be infused with courage, that each person here today will be brave, that they will do less staying and more slaying, that they will understand that being nice is not enough. The day will come when they will wish that they had been less nice and more fierce when it comes to being an advocate. So come, Spirit of fire, Holy Spirit, into all of these homes, all of these locations, into every space. Come, Holy Spirit, and burn off the chaff of cowardice and fear and procrastination. And let each person be granted the grace to be strong. And may we collectively be granted the grace to rise up in this moment, to rise up unafraid in this moment, I pray, in the name of our Lord Jesus. Amen. Yeah. Y'all doing all right? I'm going to bring Emily on. And help us out, Emily.
Help us out.
Yeah.
Well, that was a wonderful message. Thank you. Let's see. I'm gonna try and cook up a comment and perhaps a question for my fellow people that are on this call today. I think that was a wonderful thing to hear. And I think as you were speaking, the main thing that was on my mind, well, two main things were on my mind. The first main thing that was on my mind is I feel like for the people who are from the Zoom group who were meeting at 9 and not 11, who might not know me, I'm a sort of recent college grad. I graduated in 2020. And I think that one of the things that keeps me up at night and that most like disturbs me in this era of life is I feel like a lot of people view your younger years, view your 20s or your college years as a time to be naively hopeful and like naively imaginative. And I think that I'm watching a lot of my peers as we make decisions about what we want our careers to be, what we want our lives to look like. And as we start kind of laying the foundation for the years to come, I just see a lot of us genuinely losing hope and being overwhelmed by the greatness of the evil in the world. And I think that I don't know, it's disheartening to watch others lose hope in the same way that it's heartening to see others have hope. And I fear for our generation, I think we have had the gift of receiving the lessons that I think older generations have known and learned over the course of many years. And I think a lot of us are very educated about things that are going on a global level, on a systemic level, but where we lack much of the time is knowing how to turn that knowledge into action and having people in our communities who also feel that we can turn that knowledge into action. And I think, you know, hearing you speak on the terrible legacies of colonialism and genocide and slavery, I think that what both disturbs me and gives me a good kind of anger is fearing that the way that everything is organized, we will always, or the people at the top are finding ways to make everyone else need exploitation to survive. And I think,
Well, can you
I don't
say
know,
that again? Say that
not,
part again, Emily.
yeah, I'm not being very coherent. I'm sorry.
No,
but-
I mean, it was extremely coherent. I just think it bears repeating.
Yeah, I think I said the people at the top making everyone else need exploitation to survive. And I think as I see our people in our communities, our cities, our country, like our more immediate local communities, you know, being educated and working for change, so much of the things that we feel empowered to do and so many of the systems that we're just forced to exist in still rely on the constant exploitation on like a global scale and, you know, a national scale and a local scale. But I think until we can find a way to organize our lives, our priorities, our societies by something other than money, like we'll never escape that. And that feels so large and it feels so impossible. But I think something that I love about this community is it reminds me that nothing is larger and nothing is more capable of taking on the impossible than love. And it's like such a simple and familiar concept, but it's such a deep and infinite well of all that we need to like work together as people and work together as communities. So after that, all my whole little spiel, let's see. I would love to hear from others. Anything that y'all took from Pastor David's words today, but also I'm always searching for concrete moments, even just before this service. I was thinking to myself, I was like, I would love to hear from people of the world, like, what was one time where they had a group project that went really well? Like, what was an example of like something collaborative you did that you can think of that went really well? So I don't know. Anything that anyone else is thinking about, I'm happy to hear it. I feel like those comments are a little bit of a mishmash of lots of ideas, but that's what's up.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you. As you talked, I was thinking, Ruth and Kaylin, you have kids close to Emily's age, and I know you're being stirred.
Yeah. Oh, David, yes. Emily, no, you did not have a mishmash of comments there. It was impressive. And one thing that I believe about your age group, Kaylin and I have two kids. One is 23 and 21, almost 22. So in your age group, you guys think about this stuff. You're more, in my what I see is you're very aware. You know, you notice what's going on in the world and what's wrong and what we need to change. And what I really, really want you to remember or think about, David said something in my mind so profound. The rules will change. And as you and your generation look at what's wrong and try to make changes, the rules are going to change around you. Those people at the top are going to just be changing stuff and you're going to get frustrated, but the people will change. So you guys are going to keep doing it. You're going to keep paying attention. You're going to keep saying, no, this isn't right. And okay, so you said you've learned stuff from us, from the generations above. We've tried, you know, we're learning still. We're also getting a little tired, you know, it's like, but you still have that passion and that energy and that desire, and you're seeing things, and you can do it. You don't, I would like you to not feel like we don't think you know enough or can do it, because many of us really believe you can, and we're hoping and believing in such a better future because of you. So love it. Love what you said. You go, girl.
What I hear Ruth telling Emily is keep on dunking.
Yes, yes. Keep on dunking.
Well, I was just going to say thank you so much for that story about Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That is. I didn't know you were going to kick it into another gear with point number 3, David. But to me, that's the one. You know, imagine the game that we love today without the dunk. I mean, the game had to change to give us the beauty that it is today. So thank you so much for that story. To me, that gives me so much hope about where our world can go, you know? So.
Yeah.
Thank you, both of you, Ruth and Kaylin. And Lisa and Jacob both have their hands up. So I'm gonna, Lisa, what's on your heart?
I think Jacob had his hand up first, so I just want to make sure he gets.
Jacob, you still there?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it,
You
Jacob.
hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
So I'm responding to Emily's question, and for the past year, I have been working on a disability radio show, and I find it really gratifying to put something together each week with a bunch of people where you don't know how it's going to go, and everyone puts in ideas, and it's like a big puzzle, and the results are great. So that give me hope, like producing radio with 6 other people every week in figuring out logistics and how to bring in a deal on TDL and people problem solving together in real time, and it's really helpful to me. Thank you.
You are hopeful to all of us because Jacob, you're no longer in your 20s, but you have that fire. Yeah, we're inspired by you. And yeah, there are projects happening that I don't know if that was a response to Emily's question. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for that. Lisa.
Well, I wanted to piggyback actually on both of you. I loved the whole idea of giving yourself a break, not to be overwhelmed, because of what Emily said is very true. You know, people that have so much and are greedy at the top, they want to keep us so busy to survive that we can't fix the broken system. And so that's exactly why they're trying to take away your hope, Emily, your age group, is that they don't want you, they want you to get discouraged early and have to, oh, I have to survive. That whole idea of exploitation is spot on. And that's what we have to fix. And people in a position that are comfortable enough to start being active and can fix, I want to say to our entire group, you're the one who can start doing things. If you are in a position where you are comfortable and you have enough, go out and start getting active in, like the councilman that we had speak a couple weeks ago. Nothing would excite him more than to hear from all of us and say, what can I do to help you get our community to that level? Because that's where it's going to start. It is going to start with each of us. It is going to start with each of us doing a small thing in our community to make a change. And so I just wanted to encourage all of you, contact people like that who show interest in the community and improving it and fixing the problems in the system, because the system needs to be fixed, not just from without, not just with marching, which is important because you need to have the voices heard, but from within, we have to attack it on both levels. Otherwise, it's not gonna, we've got to have both. And so the people on this call can do that. There's several of you that are brilliant minds, and you can go in there and take charge of that council meeting. You can go in there and make a change. You can go in there and dunk. And that's what we need to do, is go in there in those council meetings in our community and start dunking. And we can do that. We have that power to do that. A group project that went really well, to answer your question, I always found that plays where I had a group that really wanted to put on a good show. Those were the people we came together, you know, all different people. And in the acting and theater community, you get all sorts of people. You get, there's no respect of persons in there. You need that lighting guy, you need that sound guy, you need that performer, you need the musicians, you need all of these people with very different behaviors, with very different attitudes, with very different backgrounds coming together to make something successful. And that's what we need to do, is see the power in each person. You have a talent that we need in this community, each of you. And so go on with that self-love, because you have something that I need. I need you to share your gift with all of us. So, and Emily, yeah, you know what? Let's make a pact that we won't let each other get discouraged.
As you were talking, Lisa, I reflected on yesterday. I was in Santa Maria. Though I was the keynote speaker, I listened to our congressional representative, Salud Carbajal, and followed by Monique Limon, state senator. And I had such compassion because people in office there are people in office who may not do things the way that, or say the things that I think they need to say, or do the things that I think, but they're representing a divided constituency. And my heart just went out to them with so much love to support them, because, they're doing good things. I want them to go there and overturn the tables of the money changers, but, they're elected. So that's not going to happen. Anyway, is there anyone else who wants to weigh in before Kenichi leads us in communion?
Katie Porter does a good idea of some overturning some tables. I really like her and her whiteboard. She can turn some tables over.
Thank you.
And I'd like to bring up just a quick thing. There's in the bicycling and county machinations right now, there's a bike path that's being proposed along the Modoc Road, where there's an open space. And there's been a lot of contention from the community. There's been some people who really vigorously oppose it, and then there's a lot of people who vigorously support it. And a lot of people have come together, different members of the community, to try to, put the facts out there, to work with the community, with the county, to work with the land trust, to work with the water company, all the different entities that are involved in this particular decision. And I did go to the county supervisor meeting and speak, and many other people spoke there too. And it's sometimes daunting to think, county supervisors, oh my God, it sounds very officious and almost like you're in a courtroom or something. But I've been surprised at how they do listen, and they do hear the things that people say, and they come up with decisions. And I feel like we made a difference. And so this bike path is not a done deal yet. We're still in progress, but so far it's going as well as I can expect. And I just want to encourage you to get involved in decision making. You may feel like you're just, a person who lives on your street, but when you go to one of these meetings and speak up, the people who are in charge, they do hear you.
Yeah. The reason that we hosted our county supervisor 2 weeks ago, Doss Williams, is because we wanted to hear what he had to offer, but also to give him a chance to be more of himself in an environment that would be affirming and supportive. Julia.
I was compelled to share because when Emily asked her question, I thought right away, a collaborative human effort is Alcoholics Anonymous. And everyone in that membership since the 1930s has grown and grown and grown. And they've all shared in a common peril. And the premise behind that program is you need to accept that you can't do anything by yourself, that everything is a we situation, everything. And then as you go through the program, you need to learn how to love yourself. It is a prerequisite in order to go love everybody else. So once you heal, you go heal other people. And AA is an organization that continues to thrive because we share in a common peril, and because it's the same rules that you just said. You have to admit that someone else is a higher power, and then you got to learn how to love yourself. Then you got to go love on other people, and the healing comes, Yeah. So there are collaborative human efforts out there. So just wanted to.
Thank you for that, Julia.
Mhm.
Yeah, there is such power in AA that it's one of the few things that began in the United States that some countries that are otherwise closed welcome into their country, because it's, you know, it's a saving grace. And I've often said I think that AA is probably has a lot to model for a church. And we'll finish with Michael. Michael.
Excuse me, very quickly. I don't even like to say our justice system, because we all know it's an injustice system. But Lene and I were involved in a symposium on Friday night that was very inspiring, and I just want to acquaint you with it. We'll put some stuff in our Facebook page as we learn more. But Ventura County, for 7.5 months, I didn't know this, has been involved in a restorative justice program. And it's for juvenile offenders. It's only been in existence 7.5 months, and they've had 24 cases initiated. And basically, youth are diverted from the injustice system into this restorative program. Kind of complicated, but it seems very, very encouraging. I don't ever like to endorse. I just think there's a certain evil in being an attorney general or a district attorney. I mean, it's just, but the county district attorney, Eric Nasarenko, was enthusiastic about this program and helped push it into existence. Ventura County and Yolo County are the only 2 counties in California that have it, but we'll try to get more information out. But it seems like at least a very great preliminary step for the justice system.
Thanks for that. That's an important part of this conversation. So I appreciate that, Michael. And I said you would be last, but Ana Rosa, we better fit you in here. So
sorry, I'll be quick. I just have one other opportunity. So I'm part of the Central Coast Steering Committee for the Working Families Party. And it's a really great opportunity to help push our politics here more to a humanist level, because, you know, when we talk about radical politics, really what we're just saying is that every single human being deserves dignity. And to me, that shouldn't be radical. That should just be how we are. And so you can join either as an organization or as an individual member. So if you're interested in that, let me know, because personally, I'm tired of the Democratic Party politics in this area. It's very not progressive, even though people in this area like to say, you know, it's the birthplace of the environmental movement, when actually Chumash people have been taking care of this land for thousands of years. So let's be real about that.
thank you.
So
Thank
let
you.
me know if you want to be involved.
What was that? I didn't hear that last part.
Oh, let me know if you want to be involved, so I can put in.
Oh, so how do we officially notify you? Or maybe you should send us, maybe if you have a
I'm putting
link.
my phone number in the chat.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Ana Rosa. Kenichi, would you close our time with communion
That's my
today?
phone.
Pastor David,
Yes.
Sayuri has something she wants us to share, which is very relevant to what we're discussing here.
Yeah, I just found out yesterday through Nextdoor. It's like a social media app, right? There was this bookstore just open. It's called Octavia's Bookshelf. In Pasadena. It's in an area, and this is California's only Black woman-owned bookstore offering books and other literature. It's highlighting BIPOC authors, and I believe, you know, to open this bookstore, I'm sure it took a lot of process and just I'm really excited about this. And yeah, we will see how the
Wow.
presence of this bookstore will really impact not only our city, but you know, the whole world. I didn't see news talking about this because I didn't watch TV yesterday, but I heard there are so many people showed up for grand opening events, and you know, it was on news and it was really a big event. I think that was yesterday or 2 days ago.
Wow. Some of us are brave. Thank you for that, Sayuri.
I hope your book will be there too, Pastor Dave.
Oh, yes.
Why not, right?
Why not?
All right, everyone. Well, if I may just get this one in there, just as an encouragement to all of us, that what we are experiencing, we believe, Sayuri and I believe, that it's an evidence of the move of God, love, energy, whatever you want to call it. It's an evidence that people's conscience are being renewed, refined, awakened, if you will, and things are changing. And there is a counter narrative we all know, simply put, divide and conquer, right? Divide and conquer, exclusion. But then, you know, as the message went today, Jesus exemplified what it means to be human, and then to realize we all come from one source. We are all connected regardless of our backgrounds, and we all need each other. So the one thing that I wanted to share is that, you know, I work at Fuller and in the higher ed, and there is from the UC schools, there's been a conversation of changing a course for, you know, when students go out and do their field work, from field placement to something else. And so then I knew right away, and although I didn't catch it before, when a faculty person came and said, you know, I just want you to know that there is this discussion among UC schools about possibly changing that name. We brought that to our faculty, and we decided right there and then that we were going to change it from field placement to clinical placement or practicum placement, and do away with the word field. And that for me is just another indicator that, you know, conscience are being renewed, where we would just simply overlook, and because of the, you know, internalized, the divide and conquer exploitive narrative, we have internalized all that, but then the Spirit is bringing new breath and breathing on us. And like you said, there are humans everywhere, and though the top tries to press down, humans will rise. And so anyway, so I had to share that. But as we come to the table, let us all today collectively be encouraged, where Jesus exemplified what it means to be human, and he demonstrated, one of the things I believe he demonstrated on the crossing and gave up his very life, was the absolute absurdity of the distorted use of power in the form of violence, to rid of other human life, and to expose that absurdity, and allow love to reign and rule amongst us, to be connected, and to together as one human race inhabit this world. And as Pastor David was encouraging us to really reimagine this world, I want to throw my hat in there and say, you know, I want to believe that such world is possible. And so let's come to the table as we partake of Jesus's body